Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are strapping in for a real crash course in high-stakes fantasy politics.
Oh, absolutely.
But with a serious twist. Forget the delicate court intrigue. We are starting right in the middle of a chaotic, multi-kingdom alliance.
One that's fueled by what? Fear, destiny?
Fear, destiny, and just layers of brutal deception. Our whole focus is survival in a world where ancient magic dictates, well, whether you live or die.
That's it, exactly. Our source material today is these amazing excerpts from the narrative Amid Clouds and Bones, and it just plunges us into a world where strategy is everything.
And vulnerability is lethal.
It's lethal. We aren't just summarizing a plot here. What we're doing is extracting the key operational dynamics. We've got three major realms really locking horns.
Okay, so let's set the stage. Who are they?
First, you have the human kingdom of Nephren. Think of them as, mostly military might. Then there's the majestic Seelie Fae of Ethermore.
Right, the ones with the gold and blue insignia?
That's them. Beautiful, but they're warring internally. And finally, you have the dark, cursed realm of the Unseelie Fae, the Bonelands.
And our mission for this deep dive, for you listening, is to really understand how a single marginalized person becomes the absolute fulcrum of this entire war. We're centering this on Princess Mildred. She's a halfling.
Right, part human, part fae.
Part human, part fae, which you can see in her, her pale yellow hair, her pointed ears. And when this all starts, she is little more than just a political asset.
A piece on a chessboard.
A piece of diplomatic currency.
And that status, it's so deeply rooted in the internal politics. Her own father, the king of Nephren, he actually called her existence a failure.
A failure? Wow.
Yeah, because she was the product of a mixed union, which was, deeply frowned upon in both human and, pure fae society.
So from day one, she's an outsider.
A complete outsider. She starts life as this marginalized pawn, constantly tucked away, out of sight. She's only valuable when they need her for some kind of diplomatic leverage.
That's a difficult starting point, to put it mildly. She was constantly told to be out of sight or heard.
Yeah.
And she preferred hiding, not in some, luxurious room, but in the castle dungeon or the deep woods.
It's like she knew. She recognized that the cold stone and the untamed wild were somehow safer than the court's pleasantries.
Which were probably poisonous.
Oh, absolutely. It really speaks volumes about her internal reality. Her only true comfort, the only consistent comfort, it came from her older sister, Bernadette. Bernie, exactly, whom she affectionately called Bernie. And Bernie, in turn, called her Butter.
That's a sweet detail.
It's a small, soft term of endearment in a life that was just defined by hard edges and rejection. And that little detail, it's important. It grounds her humanity before we see her get forced into this whole world of fae machinations.
Okay, let's unpack the alliance that really thrust Mildred into this lethal game. We'll start with Section 1, the politics of betrothal and the initial setup for the war.
The foundational reality here is just desperation, pure desperation, but it's all masked as destiny.
Okay.
So Nephren, the human realm, led by Mildred's dad, they allied with the powerful Seelie Fae of Ethermore.
Against the Unseelie.
Against the bloodthirsty Unseelie Fae from the Bonelands, right. And the Seelie, who are all about, light and air, their court colors are these luminous yellows and light blues, they desperately needed Nephren soldiers.
An inexhaustible supply of them, it seems.
Seemingly, yeah.
Okay, wait, I need to pause on that dynamic for a second.
Yep.
Why was this, majestic Seelie Fae kingdom so reliant on human military strength? You always think of Fae as being magically superior.
That's a really crucial distinction, and the source material gives us some clues. It suggests that the previous conflict had just been devastating.
So they're already weakened.
Severely weakened. The Unseelie Fae, they're cursed and darker, but they have access to these specific forms of brutal shadow magic.
And those beasts we hear about.
And the military beasts, which they completely exhausted the Seelie Fae's magical reserves and depleted their traditional armies. Ethermore couldn't handle the Bonelands on their own. Not without fresh blood.
Not without disciplined numbers. So the alliance with Nephren was an absolute necessity.
For their survival, yes.
And that permanent alliance, it came with the steepest price imaginable. Mildred herself. When she was just 10 years old, a contract was signed, betrothing her to Prince Atakan, the Seelie heir. This wasn't, a marriage of political convenience.
No, this was a transaction. It was an offering, a way to cement Nephren's continued military support against a mutual, terrifying enemy.
It wasn't a choice for her. It was her fate. decided for her at age 10.
Exactly. All to ensure the flow of soldiers and the survival of the Allied realms. It positioned her immediately as a commodity, an extension of the military pact.
And as we're about to see, that early transactional nature, it profoundly shaped her entire approach to survival.
It did.
So, before we meet the prince himself, let's paint the picture of where this alliance takes place. Cloud Castle.
Ah, yes. The setting is always a character in fantasy, isn't it?
Always. And the descriptions here are pretty intense.
The architecture of Ethermore, it's all designed to impress and intimidate. It reflects the Seelie pride.
So, Cloud Castle isn't made of stone.
No, not traditional stone. It's described as a tree-made castle.
A tree-made castle?
Yeah, built with these gigantic ancient trees that serve as towers. Their roots are all intertwined with these luminous magical materials.
And the fortress structure between them.
That's crafted from wood but also steel, which suggests a necessary modern military edge that's hiding just beneath all the fairy glamour.
And it's all adorned in those royal colors.
Those luminous yellows and light blues, yeah.
Yeah.
Often accented with this bright blue glass that looks like clouds. It's beautiful, but it's imposing. It's designed to perpetually remind any visitor of the Seelie Fae's ancient power.
And this is where Mildred, this marginalized halfling child, first meets her future husband, Prince Atakan. She's 10.
10 years old.
And it's immediately clear that her future is going to be defined by cruelty, not romance.
The word the source uses is instantaneous cruelty. I mean, Atakan is undeniably striking. He's handsome, yes. Described with these burning bronze eyes that have unsettling, glowing flecks of green.
Which sort of hints at something else, maybe.
He hints at a non-standard heritage, perhaps. But that beauty is just a facade for sheer malice. During that first meeting, he doesn't offer a traditional gift.
He offers a challenge.
That's a challenge, exactly.
And what was that challenge?
He gives her a venomous, two-headed serpent.
Wow.
This isn't an accident. It's not a child's prank. This is deliberate psychological torture. The source even notes that the serpent attack resulted in Mildred getting lifelong gift scars on her inner ankle.
So it's a physical mark, a mark of ownership and violence.
Intended to break her spirit instantly.
An immediate, violent statement that demands submission. But this is where Mildred's inner steel, the cunning she cultivated hiding in dungeons, it really shines through.
She doesn't just cower.
No, she doesn't submit.
Her response is not only calculated, but it's utterly shocking to the Seelie court's expectations. She decides to play the game he started.
She retaliates.
She retaliates by having the prince's wine poisoned.
Hold on. Poisoning the heir to the throne. I mean, that sounds completely suicidal, not cunning.
It should have been.
Why did defiance work here? That seems like an almost impossible risk.
Because she correctly read his psychology. She understood that his cruelty wasn't just about dominance.
It was about entertainment.
Entertainment and power dynamics, yes.
Yeah.
She executed this, covert operation. She went inland, she captured a serpent babe, had a potions maker secretly extract a safe amount of venom into a vial.
So it wasn't lethal.
Not lethal, no.
Right.
Diluted.
Yeah.
And then she paid a kitchen boy named Jesper, who likely felt sorry for this little pawn princess, to deliver the poisoned wine at the perfect moment.
She leveraged pity and secrecy against cruelty and power.
Precisely. She used her marginalization to move completely undetected. The source actually notes, such evil expects submission, and it sounds like you gave him nothing but defiance.
Her actions should have gotten her executed.
It should have, but instead, it unexpectedly entertained Atakan. She had proven to him that she wasn't just a pawn, she was a piece that could move on its own and strike back.
So this act of calculated revenge, this diluted poison, it became a strange kind of survival currency for her in that court.
It did. She realizes that revenge is a game the Fae refuse to lose, and by fighting back, she had proven herself worthy of being, a temporary sparring partner, not just another victim.
That's an incredible insight for a 10-year-old to have.
It completely solidified her worldview. Her only way out was knowledge and calculated risk. Her defiance was the first step towards self-preservation. And this is so crucial because it gives her leverage over his obsession with her later on.
Okay, so while Mildred is navigating this intense personal war, the bigger political landscape is still crumbling around King Garin.
Oh, yeah.
We learned that the Seelie monarch has a very hidden and very desperate agenda about his own kingdom's finances.
Garin's rule was actually quite unstable. His coffers were nearly drained by the last war with the Unseelie. He was a king trying to fund an active war machine with basically zero financial backing.
So to survive, he was financially exploiting his own family.
His own family. Which introduces two essential supporting characters, Atacan's cousins, or second cousins, Folly and Phineas.
The twins.
The twins, yes. And they are fascinating counterpoints to all the royal cruelty. They are the true source of Garen's war funds.
So Folly is the muscle, so to speak.
Folly is the action, yeah. Described as the dagger-wielding viper. She's quick, lethal, suspicious of everyone. And Phineas is the brains, noted for his obsession with semantics and, legalistic maneuvers.
And they're essentially hostages.
They are forced to live in Cloud Castle, effectively hostages, whose massive wealth is being systematically siphoned off by Garen.
So the very court Mildred is betrothed into is not just cruel, it's financially bankrupt.
And relying on the forced generosity of two unwilling wards, it just makes the whole Ethermore alliance look even shakier.
It adds to the chaos.
It absolutely does. Garen is a schemer using everyone. Nephren for soldiers, Mildred for diplomatic cement, his own relatives for cash. And through all this, Mildred's constant struggle is just the reinforcement of her status at court.
That constant stinging reminder that she doesn't belong.
Absolutely. Her muddled blood is a constant mark against her, used by anyone who wanted to undermine the alliance.
Like her stepmother, Queen Agatha.
Oh, Agatha was relentless. She saw the halfling princess as nothing but a consequence of her husband's failure to produce a pure heir.
So she tried to hide her.
Spent years trying to keep Mildred hidden, convinced that just the sight of her would taint the royal lineage. So Mildred's goal became simple: knowledge acquisition, not comfort.
To arm herself.
To arm herself for survival in this duplicitous, scheming environment, because she knew she couldn't rely on anyone else.
And this intense pressure cooker is really what sets the stage for her first major strategic move. Using an heirloom to completely escape the immediate peril of Cloud Castle and Atacan's, well, his increasingly obsessive interest in her.
And this strategic flight takes us right into Section 2, where Mildred suddenly finds herself in the last place anyone expected her to go.
The Bone Lands.
The very heart of the enemy realm.
Okay, let's talk about the tool she uses to do this. We heard she sought knowledge, and her father provided it, gifting her this heirloom, a magical object called the Featherbone.
The Featherbone is a really profound item. It was gifted to her father by Mildred's actual fairy mother, Elorna.
And Elorna.
Significantly, Elorna never wanted Mildred to live among the Fae.
So she saw this coming.
It suggests she foresaw the danger of the Seelie Court and provided a magical escape route. The bone was spelled with ancient, powerful, vanishing magic.
So the Featherbone was supposed to take her home, to Nephren, away from all the Fae. But we know it failed. Or at least, it was diverted.
Diverted is the right word. And this is where the unique magic of the Unseelie realm comes into play. The Bone Lands is trapped by these incredibly complex, powerful wards.
Ancient magic.
Ancient magic designed to contain the darkness and the curse of that realm. The Featherbone's magic was strong, yes, but it couldn't pierce those containment wards to get her to Nephren.
So it had a limitation.
It had a kind of built-in limitation. It could only take her to the most magically significant individual inside the contained realm.
Which is King Vane.
King Vane. She arrives disoriented, unbalanced on a stone floor in Ashbone Castle and finds herself face-to-face with the ultimate enemy.
And Vane's presence is very different from Atacan's.
Oh, completely. It immediately distinguishes him from the polished cruelty of Atacan. He's described as bulky, physically massive, this unseelie king with bright, almost shockingly blue eyes.
And he commands shadows.
He commands the shadows that are a signature of his realm. He carries the weight of a true tyrant yet. He presents this surprisingly measured and almost desperate demeanor when Mildred just accidentally appears.
So she literally falls at the feet of the king, who is orchestrating this entire war. And Vane immediately reveals the central tension of his realm, the curse.
Right away. He explains that the Bone Lands is trapped by these powerful wards, and he needs a remedy to break them.
This is the pivotal piece of information. It just transforms the whole political map.
It does. Vane isn't just fighting for conquest. He's fighting for freedom from magical captivity. And he tells Mildred that an elder had advised him there were two highly specific prophetic loopholes, two ways to break the wards.
What were those two conditions? They sound incredibly specific.
They are. The first was that Vane's enemy, Prince Atacan, had to lose his heart.
Which Vane thinks is impossible.
He wryly acknowledges it's practically impossible, suggesting Atacan seems heartless already. The second condition, and this is the one that now applies directly to Mildred, was that she, this unexpected arrival, had to fall in love with me.
Wow. So the destiny of the entire Unseelie realm now hinges on Vane engineering a romantic connection with his enemy's fiancée.
A princess who literally just fell out of the sky.
That's the high-stakes absurdity of fey magic.
It is. Vayne needs emotional leverage, which is something a tyrant rarely cultivates. He's trying to force an emotional connection to achieve military freedom. He asks her, "How do you plan to win my love?" And then admits he's trying to hasten the process. He knows the rules of the game are emotional and magical, not military.
So he proposes a desperate bargain.
A very desperate bargain. If Mildred falls in love with him and breaks the wards, he will give her anything she asks for. And he swears a blood oath to an unbreakable promise.
And we need to pause on that, the unbreakable promise.
Yeah.
In this world, that's literal.
It's literal and magically binding. If Vayne swears it, he must uphold the exact terms of her request, regardless of the cost to him, even if it costs him a military victory.
And this single detail is the hidden seed of Mildred's ultimate power.
It is.
So Mildred, she recognizes this as just another survival mechanism, another game.
Another game, exactly. So she agrees to the bargain, at least on the surface.
And her captivity in Ashbone Castle, it reflects this bizarre deal.
It does. Ashbone is the unseelie fortress, all wood and steel, reflecting that darker, heavier aesthetic of the Bonelands. But Mildred's isolation there is remarkably luxurious.
Right, she gets private rooms, the finest foods.
And, intriguingly, peppermint tea. Her favorite.
Which is a very specific detail.
An incredibly specific detail. It suggests that Vayne, or his spy network, already had very specific information on her preferences.
So it's not a dungeon. It's a gilded cage designed to cultivate affection.
That's the perfect way to put it. And she's not alone. She quickly meets Vayne's inner circle.
Which is small, but loyal.
Intensely loyal and functional. She meets Serwyn, the royal right hand, a formidable figure who maintains Vayne's security. And then there's Dahlia.
The cat shifter.
The cat shifter who serves as steward and is also Serwyn's rare mate. The source notes that the sight of a pure fae and a shifter finding this rare, deep bond is almost like a fable. A reminder that even in the darkest realm, love and loyalty exist.
And Dahlia, in a small moment of levity, provides some very unconventional reading material.
She does. Dahlia gives Mildred a stack of very steamy books to read.
Yeah.
It's a small, humanizing detail that just cuts through all the political tension, highlighting the luxurious absurdity of her captivity.
Even the royal steward of the unseelie court is looking out for her psychological comfort.
It seems so. But Vayne isn't just relying on comfort and tea. He shows Mildred the sheer military power he intends to unleash once those wards fall.
He's cementing the danger he represents.
He's using military intimidation as part of his strategy. He takes her to the military facility deep within the Skeleton Mountains.
And this isn't just a barracks.
No, this is the heart of the unseelie war effort. He proudly reveals the scale of their operation, breeding a massive, terrifying army of Ptherians.
What exactly are Ptherians?
They were serpentine, dragon-like beasts. The source describes them as massive, terrifying, and just rapidly increasing in number. Vayne is so proud of this army.
He sees it as the key to his dominance.
Absolute dominance. The source explicitly confirms the threat, stating that once the wards fell and Vayne could unleash this army, unseelie vengeance wouldn't just be had. Defeat, bloody and brutal, was guaranteed for the Seelie.
This single military asset, it justifies Nephrin's entire desperate alliance with Ethermore.
It does.
So Vayne is trying to soften her up with tea and steamy books, while simultaneously reminding her that he controls a literal dragon army.
He's applying maximum pressure.
But this is where the deal breaks down. Mildred overhears a conversation that reveals Vayne's true murderous nature.
And it shifts him from a desperate rival king to a direct personal enemy.
The information she gets is devastating.
It is. She overhears a private consultation between Vayne, Serwyn, and another advisor, Morona, and they confirm Vayne orchestrated the assassination of her father, the King of Nephrin, and her stepmother, Queen Agatha.
And the specific detail of the murder, that's key to the whole plot, isn't it?
It is the political masterstroke he executed. They were murdered in their carriage, but Vayne made sure they were found with an Ethermore royal sword embedded in the vehicle.
To frame the Seelie Fae.
To frame them and ruin the Nephrin-Ethermore alliance, Vayne admits this was done to ruin the alliance I'd been sold to obtain.
That is just immense treachery. Mildred now knows Vayne isn't just seeking magical freedom, he's a regicide who murdered her family.
And he did it explicitly to sever the very pact that was keeping her safe, or at least alive at Cloud Castle.
Her perspective shifts completely. Her survival game now has an emotional core. revenge and justice.
But just as she's processing this monumental betrayal, she learns about a deep cover spy network operating right inside the Bonelands.
Which offers her a lifeline, but also a new danger.
Yes. Lord Dunstone, a seemingly loyal member of Vane's inner circle, who Mildred had met and even joked with, is revealed to her to be a deep cover spy for Ethermore.
And he's the one who warns her.
He's the one. He tells her she must never reveal what she heard about the murder plot.
Why the secrecy, even with him?
Because Stone fears Vane's transactional nature. Once the wards fall, which would happen if Mildred fulfills this love remedy, she is no longer useful to Vane.
And if she reveals what she knows about the murder,
Vane might kill her instantly to prevent that knowledge from destabilizing his future conquest.
so she is now armed with a truth that makes her useful to Atakan, but potentially lethal to Vane.
Forcing her into this impossibly dangerous middle ground.
Which means her escape plan has to be executed quickly, and it forces her to confront Vane, which ultimately leads to her retrieval. And this brings us to Section 3, where the reality of Atakan's true identity and the nature of his long-held obsession finally come to light.
Mildred successfully engineers a confrontation with Vane, which gives Atakan the opening he needs to retrieve her.
And he brings her back to Cloud Castle.
He does, but he avoids presenting her to his father, King Garen. Instead, he places her in a secure but luxurious dungeon cell.
Hiding his asset, preparing his next strategic move.
Exactly. And while she's trapped in the dungeon, she connects again with Folly.
One of the cousins being financially exploited by Garen.
Right. And Folly reveals the profound truth about the relationship between Mildred and Atakan.
This is the moment the whole narrative structure changes. It pivots from political maneuvering to magical destiny.
It really does. Folly reveals the existence and the mechanism of the powerful Fae-mate bond. This isn't just a romantic idea, it's a binding, magical, and biological reality for certain Fae.
And how does this bond actually manifest between people who are separated?
It's described as intensely somatic and shared. Folly explains that the bond allows separated mates to share thoughts and dreams.
Especially when one is awake and thinking of the other.
Obsessively thinking of the other, yes. The fact that the bond was growing in intensity, even across entire realms, it signals that Mildred is Atakan's true mate.
Despite her halfling status.
Despite her halfling status.
So the dreams Mildred had been having in the Bonelands, these strange, vivid, dark thoughts and sensations.
They were actually Atakan's memories, his thoughts filtering through the bond.
She was unknowingly experiencing his life.
Precisely. She saw glimpses of his hidden cruelty through his own eyes, which validated her fear, but she also experienced the intense, clandestine stress of his operations. She could even smell the blood and metallic scent from the unseelie realms during his secret excursions.
So they share this intimate subconscious link that neither of them can truly block.
Which completely reframes Atakan's heartless behavior.
She realizes his cruelty might have been real, but maybe layered on top of something else, and this leads directly to the ultimate revelation.
Which happens during a massive, world-changing event.
The full scale of Atakan's deceit and his preparation, it's all unveiled during a decisive attack on Cloud Castle.
The Petherians, that serpentine army Vane was so proud of, they advance, and Mildred witnesses Atakan shift.
The Prince of Ethermore is not what he seems.
Not at all. He is revealed to be a Petherian shifter, and not just any shifter, the largest, most powerful specimen ever seen.
And this reveal, it clarifies everything. The glowing green flecks in his eyes.
Everything. His heritage is astonishing, and explains his immense hidden power. Atakan is the son of the unseelie queen Callista.
Callista, who had been forced to leave him behind for her freedom.
Right, so he's half seelie, half unseelie. And even more critically, his grandfather was the last Petherian king.
Which makes Atakan
The Alpha Petherian, the heir to both lines.
Okay, wait. If he's the Alpha Petherian and Vane is grading this army, did Vane know Atakan was the true heir?
And that's the strategic depth of Atakan's masquerade? No. Vane had no idea.
And King Garen certainly did know his heir was half unseelie.
And a Petherian Alpha. Atakan successfully concealed his shifting nature for decades. The Heartless Prince persona wasn't accidental. It was a decades-long intentional strategy of self-preservation and political cover.
He tells Mildred he practically begged them to call him Heartless. Why was that reputation so vital to his plan?
It was a cover for his massive long-running goal, to defeat the undefeatable unseelie by uniting the most powerful forces. To do that, he had to operate in the shadows, building an army of shifters and dragons completely under the radar.
So if the Sealy Fae thought he was just heartless and untouchable.
It gave him the political freedom to pursue his ultimate goal of total victory and survival without any scrutiny. It was a strategic sacrifice of his own reputation.
That adds incredible depth to his character. He wasn't just a monster. He was a monster operating on a 20-year plan. Now, let's talk about his admission regarding Mildred. His feelings solidified not through kindness, but through her violence.
That moment, when she poisoned his wine, it fundamentally shifted her status in his eyes. He admits his feelings and obsession solidified immediately after her act of defiance.
It proved she was a player, not a pawn.
Exactly. He claimed he would rather remain trapped for eternity than let anyone think you're theirs. The source material makes it crystal clear. The entire relationship was a high-stakes game, but one driven explicitly by his absolute desire for her.
And he states his true obsessive intention. He needed her to be as obsessively in love with me as I am with you.
He didn't want a compliant queen. He wanted a strategic, equally fierce mate.
And this internal war, Mildred confronting Atakon confirming his obsession, it leads directly to the final external conflict.
Atakon's shift, which is this massive act of power, leads to the immediate death of King Garin.
The scheming Sealy king who is exploiting everyone.
Right. And this attack on Cloud Castle, it initiates the final bloody phase of the war.
The moment of truth arrives. We move into Section 4, Resolution and Legacy. Mildred has all the information now.
All the pieces are on the board.
Vane's unbreakable oath. Atakon's true identity. The Ptherian army massing outside. She has the ultimate leverage.
She understands the rules of the game better than anyone else now. She knows Vane murdered her parents, but she also knows that Vane swore that unbreakable, magical blood oath.
To grant her any wish if she broke the wards.
So she chooses to use the rules of magic against the most powerful magic user in the room.
She confronts Vane on the battlefield. Ptherians advancing, Ethermore's defenses crumbling. She has to make a demand that can end the war instantly.
Using the literal, unbreakable terms of that bargain.
And her choice is brilliant. It's utterly strategic.
It is. By accepting the Fae bond and choosing Atakon, she fulfills Vane's alternate condition, the love remedy, and the wards trapping the Bonelands immediately fall.
But before that power transfer is complete,
She invokes the blood oath.
what is her demand?
She demands Vane immediately take his forces and retreat entirely back to the Bonelands, ending the invasion completely, in exchange for the ward breaking.
And because the bargain is bound by magic.
Vane is physically and magically compelled to comply, despite his absolute rage. He has to choose between the freedom he sought for decades and the military victory he was just about to achieve.
And he's forced to choose freedom and retreat.
He is.
That is the ultimate strategic move. She used Vane's own desperate measure for freedom to negotiate the terms of his defeat. And then she makes her final, defining choice, sealing her destiny and the fate of all three realms.
She rolls toward Atakon, who is still in his massive Alpha Ptherian form, this terrifying beast of power. And she accepts her role as his mate and his partner in power.
And this single act, driven by strategic pragmatism, defiance, and acceptance of this powerful bond, it forces the immediate end of the conflict.
She chose the monstrous protector who offered her a partnership over the calculating monster who had murdered her family.
With Garin dead, Atakon officially steps up to become the new king, now the unifying heir of both Sealy and unsealy bloodlines.
And Mildred marries him, becoming queen. This stabilizes the entire region by merging the two Fae realms under a single, powerful, dual-natured monarchy.
And this new regime is immediately validated. Even the human realm of Nephren offers its support.
Yeah, Mildred's brother-in-law, Royce, who has now become king of Nephren, he attends the wedding. The source confirms Nephren supported the new rule, because they had already suspected Garin's involvement in the previous king's death.
A truth that Mildred likely shared privately.
One would assume.
And the court is unified. The cousins, Folly and Phineas, who suffered so much under Garin, they remain at court.
As do Atakon's loyalists like Ilion. It confirms a functional blending of allegiance under this new dual monarch. This isn't just a marriage, it's a complete political restructuring.
And the epilogue, 20 years later, he gives us that crucial long-term view. It confirms that stability was achieved and maintained.
It was. The Ptherians, who were once this terrifying, conquering army, now flock near the Sky Mountains. They're no longer a threat. They're integrated into the landscape as majestic, monitored beasts of the new crown.
And the domestic scene is quite potent. It shows the nature of their enduring strategic relationship.
It really does. Mildred and Atakan have a daughter, Lumina, and she's described as being just as cunning and cutthroat as her father, sprawling over Atakan in her sleep.
That image is fantastic, isn't it?
It is. It suggests this fierce, intense adoration Atakan has for his family, mirrored by a child who embodies their combined, ruthless competence.
And their relationship remains complex. It's defined by power and strategy, not just simple affection.
Right. Mildred views their ongoing partnership as a challenging, high-stakes game.
She defines herself in relation to him.
She is his dreadful, daring, devastating creature, and he has successfully tamed her, though the implication is that this taming is a mutual arrangement where she retains all of her agency and ferocity, but is channeled toward their joint goals.
And even the lingering threat of Vayne, the former enemy king, is neutralized. It becomes a point of distant awareness rather than active warfare.
Exactly. Mildred still occasionally sees a Shadow Vayne's signature shadow magic. It's implied to be a form of surveillance or perhaps a strangely formal greeting from the former tyrant.
And how does she respond?
The source notes that she responds warmly, confirming a continued distant awareness of the former enemy king. It's a nod of respect for the opponent she outsmarted. She hopes, despite everything he did, that Vayne as well.
Because she won the game.
She won the game.
So, to recap this massive journey, Mildred went from a marginalized halfling princess and political pawn deemed a failure to the queen who used strategy, defiance, and a powerful, obsessive fae-mate bond to end a war.
And to choose her own survival on her own terms.
The power of hidden identity is really the core takeaway here. Both kings held massive secrets that drove this conflict for decades.
They did. Vayne's secret was his desperate, murderous plot for the remedy to break the wards, and that made him vulnerable to the exact terms of his own magic.
And Atakan's secret was his decades-long masquerade as the Heartless Prince, hiding his true form as the Alpha Petherian Shifter heir.
Which enabled him to achieve unity through deception and calculated cruelty.
And Mildred used those secrets and the unbreakable rules of Fae magic to write her own ending. She leveraged a magically binding agreement and a biologically binding obsession at the same time.
She didn't escape the game. She mastered the rules of that game. She realized her true power wasn't in her bloodline, but in her strategic defiance.
Which leaves us with one final provocative thought to consider. A question posed by the nature of the unseelie Fae and the magical systems they operate within. In a world governed by ancient magic and unbreakable promises, is survival found in escaping the game? Or is it found in mastering the rules, accepting the most powerful role you can, and choosing which monster you want to keep?
Something to chew on.
Something to chew on until our next deep dive.